Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Trades Talk. I'm your host, Justin White, and I've got a special guest in the studio with me today, Todd Zimmerman of Kress Outdoor Power Equipment. Todd, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here, man.
Man, I am glad to have you on. And Todd, you've had, I was doing a little show prep as I always do, and I saw you have 30 years of experience in outdoor power equipment.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I started right out of University of Maryland in 1996, and here I am at Kress in 2025, working and talking about the same thing, and cordless all the way through each of those 30 years.
Wow. So that's what I'm excited to get into. I mean, the amount of R&D that you've done in your career, and especially in the last 5 to 10 years with Positech and Kress, I'm excited to talk about battery equipment, and specifically battery equipment as it pertains to the future of the landscape industry and the future of the green industry in whole, golf courses and pretty much exterior environment management. But before we jump into that big, exciting topic, can you give the listeners just a quick little bio of your career, your history, and then maybe a little bit about Kress for those who maybe haven't heard?
I, Absolutely, I'll do my best. So, my name's Todd Zimmerman. Like we talked about, I've been in the industry for 30 years. Here at Kress, I lead sales as well as product development. I joined Kress in 2019, the end of 2019, and have been leading product development until most recently, about a month ago, I took over Kress sales as well. From a kind of a brief history standpoint, like we talked about, I've been around cordless power tools and outdoor power equipment for 30 years. Took a little bit of time off and was around cordless development for, believe it or not, for vacuums and indoor robotics. And
Interesting.
then had one little stint where I took a brief vacation from power tools and outdoor power equipment and worked for a company that developed strollers and car seats. But that was only about a 9-month stint that I missed the industry so much I came back to Positech in 2019. And in each level, I've done different things between sales, product development, product research, training, leading engineering teams, electrical teams, research and development teams. So each step has allowed me to gain more insight and more understanding. And that's the biggest thing is just pausing to listen to contractors about power tools or landscapers about outdoor power equipment, what they like, what they don't like, what they see, where they see the industry going, and how different companies can help them achieve what they're looking for in the green space. And really, from an outdoor standpoint, really kind of overcoming the fear of change as well.
Absolutely. So I want to hit on one thing I heard, you're taking over sales at Kress as well. So what's that journey been like, just kind of rising through the ranks as Kress has obviously grown so much in the industry, and you and DJ and the team there, Gabe, have stepped up in huge ways. How's that been just from a personal/professional standpoint of growing through this company over the last couple of years?
It's been really exciting to see where Kress has started from in, call it 2023, which is a brand no one knew about, to being a disruptor in the industry with our battery technology, both for commercial as well as the interruption for robotics. And now having Kress being part of conversations from a conversion standpoint, the journey's been tremendous. It's not very often you get to be part of a brand, a program, a technology, and innovation that has entered from nowhere essentially and become part of the conversation with the bigger brands that are out there, right? So the journey's been awesome. The response has been incredible. I mean, we learn things every day when we're with our dealers and with our landscapers. Whether we've talked to them before or it's the first time we've ever spoken to them, we learn new things, and that's the first thing we do is seek to gain understanding. Because we'll admit we're not going to know or have solutions for everything, but if we can understand what the challenge is, then we can work to provide solutions to those landscapers that are out there.
Yeah, that's an incredible run too, just over the last 2 to 3 years, really, because I did not know about you guys 2 years ago, and I
Right.
saw I saw one of your backpack blowers at a friend's warehouse in his landscape warehouse, and I was like, Kress, like what brand is that? I've never heard of that. And he was like, oh, it's awesome. It's this new electric brand, and that was my first introduction to Kress a couple of years ago, and you guys have really taken the industry by storm. So congratulations on that. And I have to go back and say, like, no amount of marketing, no amount of marketing spend would enable you guys to take the industry by storm, in my opinion, because landscaping is just, it's a different industry, man. You've really got
Yeah.
to back it up with the equipment. How'd you guys know you were ready to go to market in 22 and 23 with your battery technology? Because you couldn't have done that with crappy technology and batteries,
Yeah.
and been as successful as you guys have been.
No, it's a great question. I mean, quite honestly, the battery technology itself, the innovation in the battery is really what led us to be where we are today. Um, and the company started research in the battery technology in 2011. And around 2018, 2019, the chemists with the battery technology came back to our owner, Mr. Gao, and said, "We believe we've got what you're looking for." And ever since then, we've been on a tear. So we started working with landscapers in the Charlotte area, in the Midwest, and the Southeast, and California, to honestly just starting getting their feedback on what they thought of the tools, along with the charging times and the performance that we were getting out of the tools. And we continued to get feedback. We made updates to the tools so they would look, act, feel just like a gas product. But in the essence of everything, the innovation in the battery technology is really what set us apart. The next step that we took is in 23, we held an event in California, not too far from you guys, in Terranea,
Mm-hmm.
that we brought in 200 dealers, combination of dealers and landscapers across the country. And honestly, it was kind of our soft launch into the industry. And the feedback that we got during those 4 days is what told us we were ready, right? It was dealers that had been using gas for a long time, landscapers that had been using gas for a long time, all of a sudden sitting there going, I didn't think a backpack blower could reach that level of performance. I didn't think a gas mower could reach a gas level of performance. Really, your battery charges in 12 minutes and I don't have to buy
Yeah.
35 of them. I only have to buy four. Like that feedback supported that we were ready to launch into the industry. And soon after that, we were, had a booth in Equip, and started changing the industry's conversation at that point in time about having Kress being part of those conversations.
That's incredible. It's so there was this battery breakthrough in the R&D side of the business, and can you give us a little look into that? I mean, what does that R&D process look like? As a landscape and contractor industry, we don't do a lot of R&D. We kind of just go out and do the work, and we try to do it a little better every time. But
Right.
what was that back and forth like? If you could if you could speak to it, of just how to get that technology that was a best in class or a leading class of battery technology that really propelled you guys to where you are today.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing was the technology itself was in development for 10 to 12 years before we launched it into the public space, right? And the intent was to provide a battery that answered the challenges that we continued to find from landscapers that were holding them back from converting. Now, it's going to sound odd that, in 2011 that the same challenges are the same that they are now, but they're pretty consistent. They may have changed a little bit, but they're pretty consistent. The biggest thing from a landscaper standpoint is they don't want to lose efficiency. They don't want to lose power from converting to gas to cordless. They don't want to have to invest in so many batteries because then they have to figure out how to charge so many batteries overnight. Then they want a battery that is going to last a long time, right? They don't want something that's only has a warranty or only be available, excuse me, not available, but be able to only work for them for a season, because that means they have to reinvest in another line of batteries the following season to get through it. So a lot of it was, from a battery standpoint, was the chemists going back and forth looking at different chemistries that would allow a battery to reduce the resistance of the cell, right?
Okay. Okay.
And when you reduce the resistance of the cell, essentially you're keeping that battery cool longer. There's no heat being built up, or minimal heat being built up. If you can manage the heat buildup, then you can get more out of a battery cell. And Justin, I'm no battery expert by any stretch of the imagination, so I'm giving you my understanding of how things are working here, right?
Yeah, we're both
Um,
feeling our way through it.
yeah. So if you can reduce the heat buildup, then you can get more out of that cell. And if you look at a lot of cell technologies that are out there, they're every manufacturer of cells are looking to do that same thing. Have a battery that can charge faster, have a battery that you can get more power out of, have a battery that has longer life cycles. The the chemists that we worked with, and we invested in for 12 years before it launched, provided a solution to us that did exactly that for our CyberPack batteries, right? We have a battery that has 3,000 life cycles. It's 10 times the number of life cycles a lithium ion battery does. We have a battery that we can take 100% advantage of the cell capacity, which means we can get more power out of our battery packs compared to a standard lithium ion cell or standard lithium ion battery. Um, the other part of that is, because we can reduce, or we've reduced the resistance, we're able to charge it faster. So most lithium ion batteries out there can charge within an hour. Our batteries, our CyberPack batteries, charge in 12 minutes. If that's not fast enough, it's 8 minutes, right? So an 8 minute
Yeah.
charge time, 3,000 life cycles, 100% power out of the cell, all that translates into more cost savings, because what happens is, even compared to a cordless system out there, so if we're standard lithium ion battery, you may need 25 to 35 batteries for a two-person crew, three-person crew to get through a day. With the Kress batteries, you need 2 to 6 batteries to get through a day, depending on the number of landscapers, right? So,
That's got to be a big breakthrough. That's huge.
right,
Just the number of batteries.
yeah, and so that's what really has brought Kress to the forefront of being part of these conversations. So it's the innovation in the battery technology, and then the durability of the tools. So when we talk about the R&D for the tools, it isn't like we just said, okay, let's find um, a product and put our battery platform on it. We didn't look at it that way. Knowing that we had a battery that provided the power that was needed, we started looking and benchmarking gas string trimmers, gas hedge trimmers, gas backpack blowers, gas 21-inch mowers, right? We found those items and said, we want to be like this gas product. All right, R&D, now that you have the power, just take the engine off of it, put a brushless motor in, and power it by our battery and see what happens. So then it became even from a product development standpoint, it became fun, right? We started taking product out to landscapers, for a string trimmer, for example, right? The first thing every landscaper wants to do when you give them a string trimmer, and I think, Justin, you probably did the same thing. You find the tallest, thickest grass you can put it in, because you want to see if it's going to bog down, right? To see
Yep.
if you can bind it up. So one of the best memories that I have from an R&D standpoint is one of our first string trimmers we had here in Charlotte. We brought a couple landscapers over, and in one of the areas that we have, outside the fence row, hadn't been mowed for quite a while. So the grass, the weeds had grown almost knee high. And we said, all right, test it for us, see what you think. First thing he did was took the string trimmer and went directly outside the fence to the tallest grass he could get it in, to see if he could get it to stop. and he went for almost 30 minutes and could not get that thing to bog down, to slow down. Came back and said, "All right, I'm sold. When do I get it?" Right?
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
awesome.
just the time that we took to listen to landscapers tell us what they were looking for as compared to their gas product or other cordless product that they had already tested or tried or may have had in their trailer. Um, so it was a lot of back and forth, right? The battery technology and innovation is what put us there. But once we got the battery and was able to put it on tools, we've honestly just sought out landscapers to listen to what they wanted. So when you pick up a Kress product, it is it feels like you're picking up a gas product. It's just powered by a battery.
Yeah, I could definitely relate to that. It feels very durable and like it's built to last. Now,
Yeah.
how'd you guys know? I mean, there had to be some discipline here because it's like you had the battery power, you had, and you were building the frame and the units, but there had to be some discipline here not to just rush to market. How did you guys? How did you keep the team back from just and I don't know how this works in your world necessarily, but it feels like you guys were disciplined in the way you rolled your equipment out instead of just rushing to market. I think we've seen some other companies rush to market and then they're kind of fixing things on the go. How'd you guys stay disciplined in that process and ensure that everything was checked and the equipment was fully ready for rollout?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, a lot of times especially when you have a battery technology that we had in our back pocket and knew it had the chance to change the industry, you want to get it out as quick as possible, right?
Yeah.
But like I said, the battery technology we were aware of in about middle of 2019, beginning of 2019, and from 2019 through beginning of 23 is all of the field research that we did for landscapers. So we had multiple variants of string trimmers and hedge trimmers and chainsaws and edgers that we were working with landscapers globally, right? Not only just in the U.S. but globally
That's a
to
good
ensure
point.
that
Yeah.
it was meeting their expectations or exceeding their expectations at most points, right? And the other part that we focused on as well is from a durability standpoint, we didn't pull together a test standard that was based on being a cordless product. We pulled a test standard that was based on being a gas product. Again, the test standards we use are gas test standards. Just all we're doing is using, not all we're doing, excuse me, but we're powering by a battery, not an engine. So we built the durability into it, not only from the testing standards we used, but the amount of time we spent globally testing it before we even went into manufacturing. And there were quite a times, I mean, there were a few times that on products we before we even got to the tooling stage, we had to redesign because it wasn't meeting the performance standards or the durability standards that were expected of a cordless product or a gas product being cordless for landscapers, right? We know it's going to be out in the rain. We know it's going to be out in the weather. We know it's going to be on the back of a trailer that's going to be run over, potholes and um, curbs and different things for vibration. So there was a lot of different types of tests that we did in the background to know that once we got the product to market, that it would be durable for the landscaper. So, even behind that, we took a step back and said, okay, for our batteries, our CyberPack batteries, we have a 6-year warranty on them, right? Which is best in the industry from a battery standpoint.
Oh
From
yeah.
our equipment standpoint, because of the testing that we have a 3-year warranty on our test on our equipment, which is a year ahead of where most gas product is. Most gas is either a year to 2 years. So not only did we want to launch with an innovation, but we backed it up with the warranty in the industry to support it as well, to help lower, I won't say the resistance of landscapers, but to allow landscapers to know that we're standing behind our product. And that's the biggest thing they want to know is that a manufacturer has done their due diligence and will stand behind their product once it's out in the market.
I think that's such a key part of this entire story is what you guys do with the warranty. And it's clear that you stand behind the product with that warranty. I think that that's really important. And the other thing I picked up here is when you say your standards of testing and your standards of, when is it ready? It wasn't so much a standard of, can we beat every, cordless electric engine and power frame in the market currently, but can you guys beat gas? Can you compare and beat to the gas equipment, which I would say is,
Exactly.
it is the standard, has been the standard. And that's, I think, such a unique lens to look at. And it's such like a first principles mindset where others, I think, have failed to do that in terms of innovation. You kind of like, well, since we're EV or electric cordless, let's just beat all cordless. And I think truly this revolution in the electric space that your team and your visionary Mr. Don Gao has led, I don't know if it would have been possible or it wouldn't have had as much traction as it had if you guys looked to just beat all the EVs in the market. The fact that you went and compared and really measured your stuff against gas allowed this conversation to happen that we're having today. That is truly,
Absolutely.
where are we going? So
Yeah.
a couple,
Yeah, absolutely.
so with that, like, I just want to talk a little bit about like the difference between regulations and innovation and frame this question a little bit. So first off, I'm in California. Most people know that. Most people that listen to this podcast probably know that we went 100% battery January 1st, 100% with Kress. We went all in with Kress on all of our handhelds and our 21-inch mowers. And we did that not due to regulation, although I would say it has maybe propelled our decision a little bit. We truly made that decision based on innovation. We want to be an innovative company with the best equipment and technology that is available. We want to give our team in the field. Now, I think a lot of people are looking at the electric revolution, if we want to call it that, and they're kind of saying, well, the government's requiring us to change, or noise ordinance. And while that may be true in certain pockets around the country, specifically in high-end areas of Florida and California, what's your take on that? Because I'm seeing a lot of companies in the middle of America, where there are no regulations coming soon, moving to Kress and moving. It's to Kress. I can't say they're going to other brands. And I think it's because of innovation, but I want to get your take on this. I mean, how much of this transition is being spurred by regulation versus just being innovative?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think prior to Kress, there wasn't really a true commercial offering for landscapers to look at as a choice between converting from gas to cordless, right? Prior to the launch of Kress, let's face it, outdoor power equipment's been around for years, right?
Yeah.
Other manufacturers have had cordless product available for landscapers for a lot longer than prior to Kress coming on board. And they may have had a little bit of success with it. Some may have tried it out, a couple pieces here and there, but not full conversions, because they just didn't feel it had what they needed or required to switch from gas to cordless. So I think a lot of what we're seeing right now is because of the innovation, like from your company's standpoint, from the companies in the Midwest, the Southeast, to the Mid-Atlantic, to the Northeast. I believe it's the innovation that we're bringing with power, constant charge, and ultimately cost savings. And then to a degree, once the switch has occurred, it's a better product for their employees as well, right?
Yeah.
And that's a point that starts to get talked about more and more. It's not the leading point, but it's the top 3 or 4 conversations of it's a healthier environment for landscapers' employees because of low noise, low vibration. They don't smell like gas and oil when they get home. They don't have to worry about maintenance or two-stroke, mixing the oil the right way. So there's a lot of other benefits that come along with the conversion but I believe it's the innovation that's leading it. And yes, there are absolutely pockets that are out there because of noise ordinances or regulations that landscapers are starting to look at backpack blowers more aggressively. But as they're looking at a Kress backpack blower, they're also looking at a Kress mower, a Kress string trimmer, an edger, because they see the benefit of the system to bring power, constant energy, and cost savings.
Yeah, I agree with all that. It's the offering, and we've been testing out batteries for a long time because we do have some of those pockets, like the Pebble Beach area in Monterey County is famously known for high-end homes, and they've had noise ordinance there for well over 10 years on blowers. So, between myself, my brother, my team over there at K&D, we've tried a lot of different brands, and it was always, well, we just kept that electric blower on one of the trucks for that specific property or that area when we had to go into it. To your point, it wasn't hey, this is what we're going to use this because it's the best equipment available. We're using this because the regulations and the clients in that community requires us to do so. And this year has been the first year where we are actually deploying electric equipment or cordless equipment because it is the best option available for our team. And it's really interesting to see from the ground level. I'll be honest, some of our team, it started at like 70-30. It's like 70% were pretty on board, 30% were against it. And over the last 7-8 months now, it's gotten better and better. We're probably at like a 90-10 now, but no matter what, there's going to be 10% of your team who are just, gas junkies. They love the sound of gas because that sound equals power in their head. And so when they don't hear it, they feel like it's not as powerful. And we've slowly gotten everybody on board, except there's a few that are still kind of holdouts. And I think that'll always be that case. And it is what it is. But have you guys seen, in terms of that type of adoption, just over this year alone, 2025, you guys have been kind of everywhere. It seems like all the shows, you guys done some really awesome summits. Have you seen, from a contractor standpoint, a kind of this wave, if you will, of contractors starting to maybe accept that this might be the best option for their team?
We have, yeah, absolutely. And it comes down to getting in front of the landscapers and the owners of the companies to walk through cordless, right? And walk through Kress specifically. And as we sit down and talk with them, like, as we did with you, Justin, right? As we sit down and talk to them and talk about the reasons for conversion, the product, it doesn't really lead with the product, right? The product is there to support it, but it really comes down to being able to explain that they're not giving up power, right? The efficiency is still going to be there for each of their crew members, no matter whether they're using gas or a Kress cordless string trimmer, because of the battery technology. They don't have to invest in multiple batteries per crew because of our constant charge that we have with the CyberTank. And then cost savings, right? Whether it's cost savings compared to gas, which naturally you're going to get because charging a battery is less than a gallon of gas. There's no maintenance when it comes to, or very minimal maintenance when it comes to cordless product versus a gas engine. But even compared to other cordless systems that are out there, because of the number of batteries that you need for ours are much lower than the number of batteries you need for cordless. So, I mean, I'd say from an industry standpoint, like we were hoping everybody was going to convert by now, right? And we know that just isn't true. But a lot of great feedback with a lot of large national landscapers as well as regional landscapers, and even the smaller 1 and 2 man crews that are out there that are starting to use Kress more and more because of the reasons that we've spoken about. And it's based on innovation. It's not necessarily based on the fact that there's a regulatory or a law that's being enforced in that area. So the wave you can see that's out there, we're just waiting for that wave to get bigger and bigger as it approaches the beach.
Yeah, exactly. The takeover. So, do you feel you mentioned the smaller lawn care guys and the, one and two crew companies, it's a little easier to transition a company of that size or to just start off with electric. Are you seeing a faster transition rate with those size companies versus, let's say, a company like ours where we have 20 crews?
Um, oh man, so those smaller companies, the smaller one and two guys are adopting cordless for a couple pieces. It may be a blower, it may be a string trimmer. There are some out there that have converted completely. We're seeing more conversion with companies around your size, right? Your size or larger because they see the overall benefit from an ROI standpoint and efficiency standpoint. And they're also innovators in their industry, right? They know that it's no longer, hey, is cordless going to be a viable option for us? Cordless is now a viable option for everyone, right? And now it's getting it into the hands of the users to do the test and allow them to determine, is this the right option for us? And is it the cost savings that we need to start the conversion process? So the one thing that Kress does also, whether it's a one or two man crew or, just in the size of your company or larger companies, we do 10-day free trials. And those trials are to put our money where our mouth is, so to speak. We want people to use our product because we know once they use the product, the feedback's going to be very similar. The product is powerful. The runtime is where we need it to be because we've got constant charging. And then we get hey, there's low noise. I don't have to wear earmuffs anymore or headphones. Like I can hear people talking to me. I don't have to yell over top of it. I don't smell like gas on the way home. I don't have to worry about mixing oil and gas together and clogging up the carburetors and everything. And hey, by the way, my hands aren't vibrating at the end of the day
Yeah.
because I'm using gas, right? So there's a lot of benefits that come into it. But the larger companies are starting to look at it not only from the conversion of gas to cordless, but more about the benefits to their employees as well for that conversion.
Yeah, it's there's so many reasons, right? You just listed a few there, and that 10-day free trial really is the only way to get your team on board. And I would just say, from speaking from experience, if you try to roll out anything new software, new equipment, whatever it is, a new policy, and you don't give your team an opportunity to test and give you feedback on those things, and there may be some, safety is kind of a non-negotiable for us, for example, but when it
Right.
comes to this, like, you have to give your team a chance to try it, get on board, and then make the decision together. So I think people who are listening to this, and a lot of people are probably just at this point, maybe part of it too is they have some nice gas equipment they bought over the last 5 years and it's doing well for them at the moment. But as that gas equipment starts to, hit its lifespan and kind of you start to recycle your fleet, Todd, I think we're going to see that wave really start to pick up
Yeah.
because it's just such an obvious choice. But for those out there who are thinking about, all right, I'm going to start that transition, yeah, take Todd and his team up on that demo, because once your team tries it and they're on board, and all it takes is for a few of the key crew leaders or supervisors to get on board, and then everyone else kind of follows suit. We all kind of know how that goes. So you get those guys on board and you start to really be able to make some big moves in your company with the support of your team. Without that, I think, and I've known some people who've done that where they just transition and their crews almost are ready to stage a mutiny. Like they're so attached to their gas equipment, and
Exactly.
it's just fear of loss. They're afraid of losing their ability to do their job at a high level. Once
Yeah.
they use it for a couple months or even a couple weeks, they're good to go. But I
Yeah.
do think, yeah, that 10-day free
It-
trial, you guys, I mean, that is just such a key element of your entire process. And, hats off to you guys for coming up with all of these. You kind of, every objection that a contractor raises, you guys have thought about in advance and then solved for that. The warranty, the power on demand, the cyber tank, try it before you buy it. Cost over time, the infrastructure behind it. Actually, Todd, I'd love to go there real quick.
Sure.
Infrastructure. I
Yeah.
have met some really incredibly smart people who come from Edison Power, PG&E, like really big backgrounds, who are now advisors and are on the Kress team. What are you guys doing when people are struggling with power infrastructure? Because that's a big objection that I hear at a lot of companies. They just don't have the power, or they don't think they have the power.
Yeah, it's man, what a good question. So what we found, right, as all of a sudden companies went, yes, I want to convert. They've gone through the 10-day free trial. The users are now excited about it. They're fighting over the one that wants to use the cordless string trimmer, the Kress versus a gas one, right, or the backpack blower. Now all of a sudden the owner's faced with, okay, how do I implement this? And is my yard set up with the infrastructure needed to bring the trailers in, park them overnight, plug them in, charge them overnight so they're ready to go the next day? Um, from our standpoint, we 100%, I will say live on the air, we are not electrical engineers. However, the one thing that we do want to do is be part of a solution. So we've reached out to quite a few people that have different partnerships across the country. So the way we've approached it is not to be the experts, but to find someone that are experts. And if there is a question about what do I need to do to change my yard to support converting, we now have resources that we can share with them from a contact standpoint and say, well, hey, let's introduce you to this person so they can take a look at what your electrical requirements will be for converting 10 crews all to cordless. What power you have today, will that be sufficient, or do you need to add more electrical infrastructure to be able to do that? And if so, then that company has the ability to help with that process as well. There's also, the people that we're working with, we're trying to make sure are experts in the industry to where they know and understand at local and state levels, are there rebates available for converting yards to more electrical infrastructure or cordless charging. So again, like we talked about before, if we don't, we're not going to have the answers to everything, right? But what we do is listen to gain understanding and then see if we're able to provide a potential solution. And in this case, for infrastructure build out, it was, man, we're just not able to help here. Like, that's not our expertise. Who can we partner with in order to provide a landscaper, an owner of a landscape company, someone to talk to consult with, to be able to help update or understand what would need to be updated for their infrastructure.
Yeah. And that's just like the power of smart minds coming together and creating solutions for problems. And that
Right.
I got to commend you guys for that, because it's definitely a challenge, and every property, every warehouse has its own infrastructure challenges. And I got to imagine you guys have seen it all at this point.
Oh,
And yeah,
there's some that we're not even that are just so remote because of
right.
where they're located. Not remote being, hey, far away from somewhere, but just in areas that there's no power run to because it's been gas all the time, and trying to help that owner, right, that CEO, the owner of that company, find a solution is what we're here for, right? We don't want to prevent somebody from not converting because there's a challenge in front of them. But if we can understand what the challenge is, then we can try and work together as a team from a solution standpoint.
Yeah. And that's I commend you guys for that. I think going forward, and I want to ask you this question. At what point do you feel we're going to see a 51% electric cordless equipment in the field of landscaping? When you go out and you drive around, you see landscapers. I have no idea what the percentage is. I don't know if you guys know, but I know it's not anywhere near 50%.
No,
Do you think
never.
that's no, it's like 3%. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably
What
in
do
the 3 to 5% range,
okay.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
prior to it's probably been in the 1% range for quite a while.
Yep.
And growing to a 3 to 5% range is a huge jump. But I mean, honestly, from a Crest standpoint, we wanted 50% today, right?
Yeah. Well,
With the
that's
technology that we
visionary.
have, we wanted 50% right now. Um, Now, is that a little bullish? Absolutely, right? But we have the right to be a little bullish in our thought process. Um, but if we look at it, honestly, with everything that's going on, with gas prices continuing to rise, oil prices continuing to rise,
Mhm.
I would say probably in the next, and I might be even still probably bullish on this. I would hope in the next 3 to 4 years, you're going to see a huge swing over to cordless. That 50% range, I'm not sure when that would be, but there's so many companies today that are looking to convert. Um, and it's just a matter of time before you see the big national landscapers and even larger regional ones like K&D start to convert over. And when you see those companies start to convert, then the smaller companies start taking a look at that, going, all right, if they can do it, then we can do it, right?
Yeah.
And it's not about, like you said before, Justin, right? It's not about a multi-million-dollar marketing campaign on TV trying to convince landscapers that it's time to convert, right? It really is the way Kress is approaching it. It's almost, unfortunately, one landscaper at a time, one national landscaper at a time, one K&D at a time. But as those companies come on board, then other companies go, wait a minute, if we know Justin, and Justin doesn't make rash decisions. He's been looking at this for a while, and he picked a partner for a reason. So let's understand what that reason is and start talking to Kress because, Justin's doing it, Yellowstone, all those
Yeah.
guys. When they start looking at that, there's a reason why they're choosing Kress. Um, it's what we talked about. But as those come on board, then more and more people start to take notice that Kress is here, cordless is here, and Kress is the right program to partner with.
Yeah, I think it's gonna. I like that 3 to 4 year timeline.
Yeah,
I'd say by 2030, yeah, I think we're gonna see 50% market share of cordless, and I would say too, it's so hard because this industry is so fractured and fragmented. But if we look at, let's say, the $5 million companies and above. And we just look at that enterprise level contractor in the landscape industry specifically, not even looking at golf or anything else. I think there is going to be a point where you are at a severe disadvantage. And I think this is where it becomes the point is, and we're already getting this with our clients. And I'll give the listeners a little bit of a insight into our strategy. If you can bring cordless equipment into a community, an HOA, a commercial property, almost all properties, and I'll say maybe with the caveat of a industrial property out in the middle of nowhere, like a Amazon warehouse, but pretty much anything besides an Amazon warehouse, you bring electric there and you operate for a full year, a full season with electric, your clients will then say, we always want this experience. And, you have to kind of ask them those questions and they go, actually, you know what? It has been a lot nicer. We haven't had complaints about loud blowers during meetings. And so you just, hey, next time you guys go out to bid, and if you get up to the property management level of like the big CBREs, say, why don't you just put in the specs if you enjoy this and we haven't raised your prices, so it shouldn't raise prices. Why don't you just put in the specs that all equipment, or at least minimum hedge trimmers, weed eaters, blowers, handhelds, have to be electric? And I think as we see the spec change, not just for municipalities, which we've already seen a lot of those, but for the HOAs, property managers, and commercial facilities, especially office parks, those specifications changing in the bid documents will, I think, get us to 51% faster than anything else. And it's going to spread really quickly And I think we're maybe a year or two away from that becoming a standard in bid documents. And so for people listening, if you've been electric for 2 or 3 years and you go to bid a job that has that specification, you are in such an advantage because A, you don't have to go buy equipment and build out the infrastructure and learn on the way. That's first. And B, you just show the client, hey, we've been doing this for 2 or 3 years. This isn't our first rodeo. We're your clear choice to ensure that the consistency and quality of service continues on your property, even with an all-electric crew. So I think, Todd, that consumer-driven decision is what's going to ultimately drive the landscape industry into a rapid acceleration into electric equipment. And I
Yeah.
think that happens in 2027 at the latest.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to, the equipment is here, right? The demand is getting there. The other part that if you're considering converting, the other part that does help is think about how earlier your landscapers can get on a property now because of low noise versus having to wait to 9 o'clock in the morning to get on a property. All
Great
right. So
point.
not only can you get on the property earlier because nobody hears you because of running cordless, that means you can either run more properties that day or you're able to get on earlier to make up for when it rains and different things like that. So there's a ton of advantages that are out there for converting from gas to cordless. You got to have the open mindset to make that change. And the fear of change is the biggest thing that we're trying to overcome.
Yeah, that is truly the biggest objection. And it's hard to overcome something that is fear-based. But here's an interesting take here that I want to switch over as we've been talking for over 45 minutes now. This is great. We'll start to kind of wrap it up here, land the plane, as I say, in the next 10
Absolutely.
minutes. But I do want to talk about this because I think it's so important. I believe that by transitioning to electric and building your infrastructure and ensuring that is all there, it's kind of like what Elon Musk did for AI. Elon is so far ahead of everyone right now. And like, this is like a week by week update. So we're recording this in early August just for everybody listening. But what Elon's done with his database, with his AI, warehouse where he's actually building AI brains, what he's done with Grok and X and what used to be Twitter and all that data, like he got so far ahead of the Googles and the open AIs out there. It's pretty incredible to see. And I kind of take that thinking and I apply it to our industry and I say, well, those who are all electric will have a much better transitional platform as the robotics start to become the obvious choice for mowing. And I think we're, again, a year or two away from, maybe it's even 2026 as a Voyager comes to market, where robotics starts to be, again, a no-brainer to deploy a robot on 50, 60, 70% of your crews. Being electric and having that infrastructure and that platform as a company will enable the robotic transition and rollout so much easier than if you were 100% gas and now you're trying to roll a robot out on every gas crew. What's your thoughts on as the robots come to market and your guys' your cut and go Voyager, and then also that idea, that method, that thesis of being an electric platform, a cordless platform, allows for quicker deployment of the robots?
Oh, I love it. I think robots bring such an advantage to landscapers even today. And it's only going to get better and better as the future of robotics grows. We have landscapers today that have started to implement Kress robotics onto golf courses as well as onto residential. And essentially what they're doing is not taking labor away, but using robotics to supplement that labor. So now that person that was on that mower, right, whether it's ZTR or stand on, now that person can do something that brings more profit while they're on that property, right? Whatever that is, whether it's, hardscapes, whether it's mulch, whether it's cleanup, edging, whatever that would be. But the benefit that robotics brings is that robots are always mowing for them. And it also becomes a little bit different for both golf courses and homeowners because now one thing that you're limiting is a large, heavy, loud gas mower on a property. When you show up and you have a robotic mower that's been there all week and has mowed 3 to 4 times, you're saving more time on that property because all you're doing is rolling up, you're edging, trimming, and blowing because the mower's already taken care. Yeah, edging, trimming, or blowing because the mower's already
Yeah.
taken care of the mowing piece of it, right? And that resident's turf or grass becomes healthier because the robot mower is only cutting an eighth of an inch off at a time to allow that grass to be those micronutrients to go back into the soil. So you have stronger root growth, stronger grass density, greener grass, right? Thicker, greener, and it always looks mowed. Um, Now, golf courses are seeing it now. They golf courses are implementing our Kress robotics as rapidly as we can deploy them out there for semi-rough and rough. And we constantly get feedback that it's helped improve the play because, and the look of the course. The rough isn't as thick, so they're not, golf courses or golfers aren't losing their balls. They can find them, they can play through. It's always manicured. It's not just cut once a week, it's cut every day. So the look of the course has improved. So our current robots provide solutions today with Voyager, which is going to be a 40-inch robotic mower, and then we have another one that will launch towards the end of the year, which is a 60-inch robotic mower, fully autonomous. You don't need to be within 200 feet to operate it. It can save multiple maps, thousands of maps into one machine, so you can go from property to property to property. But it allows that landscaper to not have to change the way they do business because today they roll up onto a yard maybe once a week or twice a week, depending on what the season looks like. There's somebody on a ZTR that's mowing the grass, and then the others that are trimming, blowing, edging. Well, now you have the opportunity to use a robotic mower to do the same thing. So your three-man crew becomes a two-man crew, and that third person becomes open to do something else, whether it's picking up more yards, so you grow your business that way, or whether you start doing, spraying, weeding, anything else that would be more profitable than just having somebody sit on a mower or stand on a mower for, 6 hours a day. So I really believe robotics is going to help change the way the industry thinks about approaching a residential space or a commercial space.
Yeah, wow. And I'll attest. I was golfing on Friday, and they had the Kress, little robot mowing the rough, and it was kind of cool. It didn't bother us at all as golfers. I mean, you could never really have a big mower out there mowing the rough at 3 p.m. on a
Right.
Friday and get away with it. and
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, and to your point, like the rough was like not unmanageable. It wasn't like the US Open, so that I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Um
I mean, we've got mowers that are, quarter acre up to right now, all the way up to 6 acre coverage. And then if anybody's attending Equip, we'll be debuting Voyager, our 40-inch fully autonomous ZTR at Equip this year in October.
oh man, that's so exciting. And yeah, you got to go to Equip, guys. That's where you need to be with so much amazing equipment coming out and so much new technology. I really think the Voyager, it's kind of from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, this is the first fully autonomous where there's some other brands, you do need to have a line of sight, you do need to have a kill switch. This is really the first that is almost acting as a third or fourth crew member, completely autonomous. You unload it from the trailer and it goes, cuts everything, and then it kind of comes back and just is ready to be loaded up at the end of the day. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talked about Elon Musk and what he's doing, right? To be fully autonomous, we're using all the same technology that automated cars are using today, right? We've got LiDAR, we have cameras, we've got detectors that are 360 degrees all the way around, so there's no blind spots on the unit itself. Um, you have the ability to sit on the unit to map the yard if you want, or we have our mapping cart that you can use as well. But as soon as you map it's pretty easy to do. You save that as, Justin's yard one, and it knows that yard every week. So now all of a sudden it becomes, like you said, it's another team member for you to utilize. And as you're on that property, you've got one guy that's now trimming, blowing, edging, and the mower on property around the same time that you are doing the mowing on that property. So we're excited for it. We talked about research before, so for the equipment, we've had
Right.
this unit globally for 2 years out in the market doing research, from cut quality to the automation aspect of it, to make sure that when it's out, that it is meeting the expectations that we have, right, and that the industry has for having a fully autonomous robotic mower.
Yeah, there's that discipline again with your guys' R&D process, and I commend you guys so much for that, because so many, and not just in landscaping, I just see this in all industries with innovation. Like, once you have this working prototype, everyone just wants to get it to market, and then you're left with kind of these negative reviews because, hey, maybe I thought the mulch area was a lawn, and vice versa, and it went and mowed a bunch of mulch. So, there's got to be
Right.
those small little things that come up that your your engineer team has always got to be challenged with new challenges in the market.
Yeah, yeah, and we've been testing it for longer than 3 years or 2 years, right? And uh, with where we are, just to get to the point of feeling comfortable over the past 2 years to have it out globally with some small landscapers and doing our own testing for cut quality and different things. So this has been a process, and one that we want to make sure is correct before it goes out, because again, it's robotics, it's a larger unit, and everybody's going to have concerns about how it performs when there's something in the lawn or someone walks by it, or any of those things that could happen. What does the robot do? So we have definitely paused and taken our time to make sure we have the software aspect of it correct to
Right.
feel comfortable and confident about its performance.
Yeah, that's kind of a new thing, I guess, right? You've got the power and the frame and the engineering behind that, but then you have the software now with the robotics that is just such a huge piece of the solution that I'm sure is another challenge. You know what? The other thing I want to, I just thinking out loud here, as these robotics capture, all the data and what they're doing and where they spent their day, do you see in the future with AI powered landscape companies just having data available in the cloud almost immediately from what that robot cut that day, how long it spent in areas? I mean, is that data going to be valuable to us in the future as landscape leaders? I'm just kind of thinking out loud here as AI starts to become a bigger part of our business.
Yeah, it definitely will be. I mean, even with our current Kress commercial equipment, we have an app that you can bring all the equipment into, and that app will essentially track the runtime of that unit on a property, or for the day, sorry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have two crews using the same equipment, relatively the same yard size or space, and if one crew is on that property for a less amount of time than the other one, then what's that other crew doing? Or if this one is getting more battery efficiency, meaning they're getting 30 minutes of runtime and the other one's only getting 15, then as an owner, you can start looking at data and go, okay, there's something wrong here. So let's make the appropriate changes so we're maximizing our efficiency on property, um, which ultimately results in cost savings for the company, right? So
Yeah,
all of
I'm
that
glad you
data,
brought that app up too, because that's an
yeah, like
awesome
all of
product.
all of that data is going to help someone like yourself, Justin, right? Your crew leaders, your crew chiefs, having data in front of them allows them to make adjustments almost on demand from a day-to-day or a weekly basis to make sure they're more efficient on that property. And if they're more efficient, it means they're either going to get more yards done or they're saving time on that property to allow the company to make more money.
Mm, yeah, that's that's huge because and it's also when you say make more money, I'm such a believer in this. Our crews need to make more money to live in this world. They like I would say 30%, 1 in 3 of our team members are being paid at a rate that is like below the poverty line. And it's just A, it's not acceptable, B, it's not sustainable. As the world gets more expensive, we've lost 25% of our buying power in the last 4 years in America. And in some areas like California, Texas, and others that have grown fast, it's even worse. So we need to pay our teams more money and we need to give them an opportunity to make more money. But we don't have a consumer that's ready to pay more money for landscaping or pay more money to get their lawn mowed. So we have this like really difficult equation that we have to figure out as an industry. And I am so bullish on the robotics and the autonomous mowers because it's an opportunity for us to actually drive our cost point down, increase our quality, and then actually enable us to pay our teams more money. So I'm very, very excited to see how this equation plays out over the next couple of years. And, I'm on a mission. I've kind of said it, and I think we're maybe 5 to maybe 10 years away from this. But, one of my missions is to get every minimum salary in the landscape industry to $100,000 a year. And I mean, it sounds like a crazy number, but I don't think we're too far away from that, especially with inflation and robotics. I think we're going to move to that relatively quickly at the enterprise level. And then, smaller companies are going to follow behind that. But I'm glad you brought that up because that's a huge, close to my heart mission.
Yeah. Yeah. The more data we can provide, right, the better decisions can be made for all of us, right? Our employees, the companies, right? But it's got to be data driven. And as we can track and understand the data better and provide it to owners like yourselves and other people out there, it allows them to make the best decisions for their companies and their employees.
Yeah. Hey, Todd, I'm going to play a quick clip from Jensen Huang, the founder of NVIDIA. Listen to this real quick. I want to get your take on it. 1 second.
That someday is probably in a world that moves will be autonomous someday, and that someday is probably around the corner. So everything that moves, we already know that your lawnmower is going to, who's going to be pushing a lawnmower around? That's craziness.
That's funny.
He was just on a talk a week ago saying this of everything that moves will be autonomous, and that someday is very soon, and you'll never be pushing a lawnmower again. That's crazy. What's your thought on that quote?
I think it's a perfect quote, right? I mean, if we look at where Europe is right now, right, and Europe is by far leading the way for the use of robotic mowers for residential. 25% of all mowers that are purchased in Europe, I believe that's the right spec. 25% of them are robotic mowers right now, and it's continuing to grow every year. From a U.S. standpoint, there's been some things that have some limitations of robotic mowers that have held us up. We want robots that look smart. We don't want boundary wire. We want them easy to set up and the data to be able to change things and move things around. And that time is now, right? The technology has caught up to overcome the objections of the U.S. market. Now it's just growing the awareness of the category. And I mean, honestly, right now using robotic mowers saves time. And that's the one precious thing that we are all trying to find more of in our day is more time to do something. And why worry about going home and bringing a mower out and mowing the grass yourself, or your landscape crew spending time on a mower when they could be doing something else for the company, right? And the technology's come such a long way and is only going to get better much faster to allow robotic mowers to be a true choice for anyone to maintain their lawn.
Yeah, and the funny thing at the end of that quote, Jensen said, and kind of to your point, is you'll only be mowing a lawn if you want to. So like
Right.
people who are looking for that time in their day, and maybe part of that is going home and mowing the lawn because that's the way they decompress from their day. Like, yeah, you can still do that, but we now have a choice of, do we want to spend time mowing the lawn, or do we want to spend time with our family, going to the park or what have you? So
Exactly. Yep.
yeah, this is an exciting time. I've said this on stage numerous times. I think the next 10 years is going to be the most revolutionary 10 years in landscape history ever, and other industries too, but specifically landscaping. We're going to see some major changes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just stoked to be here, Todd, with you and talking about this at a time where I think, Kress is in the driver's seat and innovating extremely fast. It's going to be hard for anyone to keep up with you guys. So I'm excited to continue to watch this climb. Now, at the end of every episode, we kind of ask for a trade secret, something that you've learned over your years. And so I wanted to open up that to you. And as we wrap this up, just ask for your trade secret on today's podcast.
Oh,
It's always a
trade
tough question.
we've probably spoken about it, but it's probably not a secret anymore. But it's one thing that I had to condition myself with, which is change is constant. Just be open to it, right?
Nice.
And the more you're open to hearing, listening, and gain understanding, the better off everyone will be, is the biggest thing.
Awesome. It changes so constant, and it's picking up speed at the rate of change too right now. So being
Oh, yeah.
open to that is
Yeah,
huge.
right. I mean, what you and I talked about 2 weeks ago for robotics is going to change in the next 2 weeks. And battery technology is going to continue to evolve. But, the biggest thing is, from a personal standpoint, from a company standpoint, changes is always going to be there. And if you want to continue to succeed, you have to be open to looking at different things to help your business grow or help yourself continue to grow as well.
So well said. Well, Todd, I know you're extremely busy and you got a lot going on, head of sales, VP of product development for Positech and Kress. I mean, thank you so much for spending the last hour plus with me on the Trade Stock podcast and sharing all your insights. Extremely valuable and very grateful for this conversation. So thank you for that.
Awesome, Justin. I appreciate it, sir.
All right. You have a great rest of your day. And guys, listening, if you want to reach out to Kress, you can find them in a lot of different ways. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll hook you guys up. You can find them on LinkedIn and so many different ways. So definitely come to Equip this year and check out that Voyager that is going to be debuting at Equip in 2025. All right. Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in to Trades Talk, where the next generation of disruptors comes to raise the bar. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone in the trades who's ready to level up. For more tools, insights, and community, follow host Justin White and join the movement at jwhitegroup.com.